Well folks, here we are again at Tango Towers with Mr Chippie, as well as myself, and this time we've got the CF210SP, which I won't describe as a transistor radio because it's an integrated circuit radio. Mr Chippie, would you like to hold that label up, the one that has the make on it, which isn't Panasonic? Let's just see if we can zoom in on this handheld camcorder. What do you think that is? Pens? What?
Well, it's not Panasonic, is it?
No, it's not. Panasonic, yes. And the next thing we'll have a look at is that little tiny chip.
I'm not picking it up.
Oh. That's the little tiny chip. And so the first thing you have to do is solder the surface mount little tiny chip onto the printed circuit board.
Right way around.
Yes, that does help. So we will put the camcorder down and do a bit of soldering. So I can actually try and hold the camcorder steady. Mr Chippie's now soldered that in. Right, what Mr Chippie's doing at the moment is he's testing every part as it's soldered in. So what's that one read, Mr C? Have we pressed the button?
3.3k.
Well, that sounds about right. So we're going to test every resistor and every capacitor on the peak ES, not the SR meter, the LCR meter. And the other thing which I'll mention, when we look at the instructions, which of course are in Chinese, we've thought you've got to know which colours the coils are. Have we got any coils? We haven't got any coils on this one.
This one.
No, but we did on the other one. It's just a point that we know the resistor colour code. We're electronics engineers, and we know that 0 is black, and we know that 1's brown, and 2's reds, and 3 is orange, and 4's yellow, and 5's green, and 6 is yellow, and 7 is violet, and 8 is grey, and 9 is white. And of course we've got those Chinese symbols, haven't we? 9 looks like a gate with an aerial on it, and 7 looks like a robot on a stand. So when you come up to those symbols on the circuit diagram, let's change over. When we had that other one, they were shown those symbols on here. So you've got the advantage that you know what the colours are because they've given you the resistor colour code and you can match up the characters. So that was today's little tip. So meanwhile, Mr C is soldering this together. And one of the tips he's got about soldering that tiny chip in, which you did earlier, is that you always apply you're going to put the component on the pads exactly in the right place. And we tag pin 1 and 9 or whatever it is, so there's opposite ends, a diagonal ends. We apply the heat to the pad and apply the solder between the joint and the pad. So we're not actually putting the soldering iron on the device itself. I don't know whether most of you know this who aren't into electronics as much as we are, but the rule is 6 seconds on most components. You should never have heat on them for more than 6 seconds. So, right, we'll just let Mr Chippie put a few more parts in and we'll come back to it. Well, it's a bit like last week's red radio all over again. Look at our pile of capacitors on the left. They are supposed to be what, Mr Chippie?
100 nanofarad. Yeah, 100 nanofarad.
And they're about 50, 55, as low as 47, as high as 63, I think. So we've rejected all. There's some other capacitors as well we've rejected. So when you look at what we've put in, you'll see we've put some resin dipped more expensive ones in. They still ask for Chinese kit, but we have tested every part that's gone in this so far. This has taken longer to put together than the transistor radio we did last week so far. We spent 90 minutes on it, but not a lot to go, and we're packing it in for the day. So we'll put a few more parts in tomorrow and let you see what happens. And so the next day it's taking a bit more shape, and we're just going to try and fit the tuning dial, which is that red thing there, and we've just got to really put the battery clips on and solder it into place. And were we alright with the rest of the parts? I don't think we were any short, were we?
No.
No, good, right. So let's see what we can do. Right, we've got to the moment of truth now. The power lead, the positive power lead, we've put a red wire in. It was provided a yellow one, which is just there, which was too short. So we've provided our own red wire, because otherwise it would have interfered with the battery compartment. So that's so far so good, and now we're going to put the case together. There's no adjustments really apart from the placement of the ferrite rod aerial core, but experience has told us where that is, and if we're wrong, well, we'll have to provide a 3-volt external supply. But we're going to put the batteries in and hope for the best. Well, we're on AM at the moment, and as people will know, we live in the middle of nowhere of Lincolnshire in the UK, certainly 90 miles from the nearest transmitter. We're on AM, and haven't found anything on FM yet, and we're going to put the decal on in a moment. So it is actually working, certainly on AM. Okay, we managed to dig a tripod out for the final bit, and Mr Chippie has gone back home to Bradford. So I've just been doing the alignment on this this radio, and on the variable capacitor, the left hand trimmer is for the medium wave section, so I've set that for maximum sensitivity with the signal generator, and then I'm just doing the FM one here, and this is the one which kind of shifts around where your 88 to 108 is on the band, because as we built this, it was receiving it, according to the signal generator, it was receiving between 140 megs and about 100 megs. So we've shifted that down with that trimmer, and you can just hear the signal generator underneath the entertainment station. So set that up with the signal generator, and so now what I've had to do is to do this, you've got to run it on external 3 volts. So that's disappearing off to a battery pack, which is a bit of a pain. So we're going to put it together now, and it's quite clearly working. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so there we have the finished radio. We're now on FM. It's the stiffest tuning knob I've ever come across. And then we've got AM, which I've previously demonstrated. We'll just pop the aerial down, find a station. So everything's where it should be on the dial, and everything works, and it seems quite sensitive. So it uses a chip for the FM, a chip for the AM, so it's a kind of posh version of a TRF radio with that type of chip, which I think is a rip-off of the ZN414 from Ferranti in the early 70s. And then you've got an audio output chip. So apart from the 2 trimmers on the tuning capacitor, there aren't any adjustments, but very finicky, much more finicky than the red one. A lot more components, a lot of out of tolerance components by more than 50%. So we replaced 10 of the capacitors from our stock, but the result is that it works beautifully, really, especially for that tiny speaker. The speaker, we did put a dab of glue on that, and we used Bostik number 2 adhesive, if I can find where it is on the bench, or whether Mr Chippie's hidden it away somewhere. Yes, he has. So that concludes. I'll just, when I can get this circuit. So that concludes the CF210SP kit radio assembly. Thank you for watching.